Welcome to the Casuals. I'm Andrew Robinson, and this is Gavin Beck. It's currently 10:30 at night on December 23rd, and we're recording our first episode of the Casual Sports Talk. In this episode, we're going to go over the college football playoff round 1 that happened last week and talk about what's going to happen next week as the quarterfinals kick off. We're going to talk about the restructuring of the NBA AllStar Game. We're going to be talking about and spotlighting some NFL rookies, and we're also going to go into how the Yankees are kind of mixing it up in free agency in the MLB.
So the first round of the first ever college football 12-team playoff was this weekend, and we saw the Indiana Hoosiers go up against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, where the Fighting Irish took down the Hoosiers 27-17.
Yeah, it was kind of a smackdown, and though the score says 27-17, Gavin, it was kind of a lot bigger than that because I believe with either 5 minutes, I think Notre Dame had a 27-3 lead. So the Indiana Hoosiers kind of came back a little bit towards the end to make it look a little better. But at the end of the day, I mean, Notre Dame basically had command of the game the entire time. Indiana really couldn't do a whole lot against them. So Notre Dame came into the game as a 7-point favorite, which they covered. And, I feel like the home playoff games and this whole entire thing, it's just going to be a big thing going on where we're just going to see more and more and more home teams win, as we saw with this whole entire first round. So
how do you think this kind of set up? Like, what kind of precedent do you think this is set for this playoff? Like, how do you think this is made? What kind of first impression does this set?
I mean, I feel like we finally see how hard it is to play on the road. I mean, as a Georgia fan, you've heard Kirby Smart talk all season about how hard it is to go somewhere else, especially inside the SEC. And now, while there wasn't any SEC home games other than the Texas game, playing in home is such a big factor that isn't taken into consideration with a lot of things. So I feel like you're going to see a whole lot more people. And as a fan, like, I'd much rather have a home game, to be honest. Like, I was kind of a jealous Georgia fan.
So you think that, because this is what I think about too, like, how come it's almost like why does Georgia have to play, at a neutral site when we're the ones that, or all these 4 teams, like, why do they get, like, punished and don't get a home game in the playoffs? Like, that kind of doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
To me.
Like I was a selfish Georgia fan where I'm like, all right, we were down in the SEC championship game. We had just got our starting quarterback knocked out. I'm like, hey, we're going to get a home game. I'm going to be going to a night game in Sanford Stadium watching us beat whoever the heck we have to play. Well, now, if I want to go watch my team in the playoffs, I got to drive to New Orleans as a Georgia fan.
Yeah.
So why we won our conference and we get a first-round bye, which I don't think is right, to be honest anyways. I don't think if you win your conference, you should really be getting a first-round bye. But regardless, how it is right now, we're almost being punished with home field advantage for having that first-round bye.
Yeah.
So I wish they would at least take the home field advantage into the quarterfinals. Maybe semifinals is a little much, but I believe at least up until the quarterfinals, it should be home field advantage for the higher-ranked seed.
I think these bowl games just don't want to give up their, leverage.
But you can still pick, like, say we play the Rose Bowl has its own stadium, the Peach Bowl. Well, I mean, if Georgia wins, put us in the Peach Bowl. Put us in Atlanta at least, not the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans. I mean, if you have Oregon, go up to Oregon and just put a name on the Birmingham Bowl at Oregon Stadium. Like,
but then the argument is that they're taking away from these, like, already, like, set in stone bowls. It's been in, like, has all this history and all these things that are attached to it.
I understand that, but you know what else had history? The BCS National Championship, the 4-team national the 4-team playoff. So, I mean, we're in a new era of college football. So why are we – I understand that we're still trying to hold on to the tradition of what was, but at the end of the day, let's bring in some new stuff along with it and still kind of throw some tradition in there.
Yeah, and I've heard some people argue that, like, they say, oh, well, I'd much rather have a bye because a bye gives you much more of an advantage because you get rest and more practice and all this. Yep. But I think as we see with this first ever playoff game, how important home field advantage is. Exactly. And how, especially in college football, like how much a crowd can swing a game's
Because
momentum around.
it's not like a baseball game where you're throwing maybe 40, 50,000 people. I mean, you got 100,000 almost, if not more than that, packed in just to root for your teams. Unless you see like a Ohio State game, which we'll talk about later on, where Tennessee fans showed up to Columbus, Ohio for that Ohio State game. Now we'll see later on that they were poorly let down by their team, but I mean, you're going to see some big teams travel out and may take over some stadiums. So that's the one thing I am kind of looking forward to see. If you may see a Boise State and then a big team around them, I wonder if we're going to see a team kind of take over their home stadium, and they may lose their home field advantage from a big team. But
yeah, I just feel like with any other sport, this would make a little bit more sense. But with college football, you cannot just dismiss the importance of home field advantage and like how much a student body and just not even just a student body, a whole state can come together and influence a game at a stadium.
Exactly.
Like Sanford Stadium or wherever else.
Or Penn State Stadium, which is the next game that we have. They had their whiteout, but and
it kind of followed the same trend here. I mean, SMU got took down by Penn State 38-10, and it was at home for Penn State. So it follows that same trend.
It was basically pure domination from the Penn State Nittany Lions. I believe they had one, maybe two pick sixes, I believe. But I remember watching that game. It was a noon kickoff, which is kind of a letdown for their whiteout. I mean, I would have loved to see a whiteout at Penn State at night. You hear all the loud fans, and they still showed up for the game, but SMU really didn't have a chance. It was almost like the lights were a little too bright for SMU, and I don't think this is the end of SMU. I don't think this is the last time we're going to see them since they play in a weaker stacked ACC. They're going to do good on recruiting, but I believe that this isn't the last we're going to see of SMU, and I'm looking forward to see how Penn State does in the next round.
But did this game bring up the point of what kind of criteria the committee uses to let teams in the playoff? Because it seems like they just did a lot based on just how many wins you have.
Exactly.
But do you think that a team like Alabama was more deserving than SMU to
almost?
be in the playoff?
I think you could have put 3 SEC teams, whether it's Ole Miss, Alabama, or even South Carolina, who had a great end of their season and ended up beating Clemson, as we'll see later on. But, I mean, SMU, great team. You lost your championship game by a last-second field goal. I mean, what a kick from that Clemson kid. But you lose at the last second. And, I mean, Alabama was hit or miss. Ole Miss was kind of hit or miss. But, I mean, South Carolina had such a great end to their season. I was really hoping to see South Carolina jump in and just see Lenoris Sanders, see if he could do something in this. But they took SMU, and I understand why. And it was kind of a lose-lose for the committee here. You put SMU in, and, well, you hear the 3 SEC teams behind them kind of complain a little bit. But if you leave them out, what kind of precedent are you setting for? They're a 2-loss team who lost in their conference championship game, who, if they don't make their championship game, they're 12-1 or 11-1, and you're going to put a 3-loss team ahead of them. So it was kind of a lose-lose for the committee. I'm hoping that we'll see a little more emphasis on strength of schedule and just the teams that are actually played rather than the wins in the win column.
Yeah. So let's move along to what could arguably be the most competitive game of the weekend. Between the Clemson Tigers and Texas Longhorns, which ended in a Longhorns win, 38-24.
Yeah, I mean, even though it's a 14-point loss, I believe Clemson had the ball on Texas's 1-yard line and up the middle, stopped both times. So Texas's goal line stand basically helped them out a good bit there. And even with Texas being at home, that's still, like, Texas isn't known for having the biggest atmosphere. Like, it's not maybe a Death Valley, but Texas is still going to show up. And I was honestly surprised by this. I thought the Clemson Tigers really didn't have a shot after seeing how good of a fight Texas put up against Georgia in the SEC championship and earlier in the season. But Texas got away with the win. They still covered. They came in as 12-point favorites. It was a 4 o'clock kickoff Saturday at DKR Stadium in Texas. And, I mean, Clemson Clemson's always there fighting tooth and nail. They're a hard-nosed team, but I don't know if we'll ever see the same Clemson we saw around like the 2015 to 2018 era, where it was the dominant Clemson teams of Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence versus the dominant Alabama teams. I don't know if you'll ever see a run like that from Clemson, just with SMU coming in and Miami getting this resurgence out of the ACC, and even Georgia Tech coming up with Haynes King. I mean, they gave Georgia 8 overtimes worth of football. So Clemson's always going to be there, and much respect to Dabo, but I don't know how much Clemson is actually going to be. I think you may see them in the 12-team playoff since it has been expanded. I don't know how far you're ever going to see them go.
One thing I took away from this game, though, is that this is kind of a glimpse of what could be for this 12-team playoff, is these lower team schools, not lower team, lower ranked, these lower ranking teams each year, sneaking in. Clemson snuck in with that ACC championship win, and they can put up a battle against a really good team, a team that's dominated all year like Texas. So it's really a glimpse into the future of, this could be like March Madness. This could be, we could see these exciting first-round games that could end in upsets, and it could be an awesome thing going forward.
Exactly.
But let's move on to the final game. We wrapped up the weekend with the Tennessee Volunteers going to the Ohio State Buckeyes, which ended in a 42-17 win for the Buckeyes. Again, following this same trend of these home teams, higher-ranked home teams, kind of blowing out.
I mean, blowout's the perfect word. Massacre is another word for it. I mean, Tennessee really didn't have a chance. Nico Imialiava, I really hope I got that pronunciation.
Spot on, buddy.
I mean, true freshman, I believe he is. Tried to put up a heck of a fight. Really, Ohio State was just purely dominant in that game. I wasn't able to watch a whole lot of that game, but just kind of looking at some highlights, it just seemed like Ohio State had control of the game the entire time. Even with a lot of Tennessee fans showing up, the atmosphere was solely Buckeye fans running the I don't know, I feel like they call it the Horseshoe maybe. I'm trying to remember what they call the stadium, but just Ohio Stadium. But, I mean, once again, pure domination from a home team. So,
this one was a little bit more of a surprise, wasn't it? Because Tennessee, they had high talks about that explosive offense all season.
Exactly.
So number 9 versus number 8, this being a blowout was it was a big surprise.
Honestly, the way that I was going into this game, if Tennessee was able to establish the run against the Ohio State defense, I thought Tennessee may have a chance. And honestly, in my mind, I'm thinking if this is a home game for Tennessee, Tennessee has an edge on this, and Tennessee may be favored. Well, seeing how big of an impact that the home field advantage was for Ohio State with a 42-17 lead, this is one game where I feel like if it's switched, it may be closer, but I still don't know if Tennessee's able to out-edge Ohio State in just their dominant performance on the football field that game.
Now we'll just look ahead to next weekend when we get to see the New Year's Six bowl games, and we just get to see how these first-round winners go against these bigger hitters. So first off, we got Penn State will be going up against number 3 Boise State Broncos. This will be at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. So how do you think this is going to go?
One thing I will say before, I'm really surprised to see that Penn State, they're the 6th seed in the playoffs going against the number 3 Boise State. And this is a common trend where the first-round winners are actually favored against the teams who got the first round bye and won their bowl game. So like we were talking about earlier with the bowl games and everything, how you win your not bowl game, but your championship. If you win your championship game, then you automatically get a bye and into the top 4. Well, Penn State's favored by 10.5 this game against Boise State. And one thing I will say is I think Penn State may cover this game. Penn State has, if they do anything what they did against SMU, I think Penn State will handle this really good. The biggest thing, as we all know with Boise State, Ashton Jeanty, if you can shut him down, I think Penn State wins this game by more than 10.5. There is no home field advantage here. It's in Glendale, Arizona in the Fiesta Bowl. And one cool little fact is I believe Penn State is 8-0 in the Fiesta Bowl, and Boise State is 3-0 in the Fiesta Bowl. So neither team has lost in this bowl game. So one team will stay undefeated, one team will come out losers. I personally think Penn State walks away with a win here. I think it's probably by 2 scores. I just think that Ashton Jeanty, I don't know if he'll be able to do enough. I know that Penn State's defense is pretty dominant. I can't remember the linebacker's name that they have, but he's number 11, and he's just been dominant all year. And I think Penn State's going to walk away with this. I believe Ashton Jeanty, all he needs is 131 to beat Barry Sanders' regular season rushing yards. And I don't know if he'll get it this game. I hope he does as a fan of the game, but I don't know if he'll be able to get 131 against Penn State's defense. So, and especially with it being a night game, I feel like Penn State fans are going to travel really well.
All right, yeah, just moving along again, following the same. What am I trying to say? What's the word?
Same trend.
Yeah, following these same trends. Just number 5 Texas Longhorns favored by 14 against the Arizona State Sun Devils in the Peach Bowl down here in Atlanta. So, what do you think about this game?
I mean, I'm taking Texas in the points here. I mean, Texas, they're 14-point favorites. I think you may see a little more Arch Manning here, at least as a fan of football. I hope I see more Arch Manning here. I think he's a generational talent that isn't used enough for Texas. And Arizona State has running back Bo Scatabo. And I just think that Texas is going to be able to stop the run. I mean, you've seen Texas play teams with good run games like Georgia. And if they can stop Arizona State's run game, I believe Texas wins this game. They also have played in this stadium before, so it's not like the pregame is going to be anything new. They played in this recently. Stadium less than a month ago, I believe, in the SEC championship game. So this is in Atlanta, Georgia, the Peach Bowl, and Mercedes-Benz Stadium. This will be a 1 o'clock kickoff, and I mean, Texas fans, they have less of a drive from Arizona, so it's not too different.
Yeah, the odds are definitely stacked up against
exactly.
Against
so
Texas Longhorns, or for the Texas Longhorns.
Yeah, exactly. So I believe Texas. I'm taking Texas in the points here. I think Texas probably wins by 3 scores. And this is another situation where you win your bowl game. I mean, you win your conference championship game, and that's great that you get a first round bye. But you're playing Texas, and Texas is a big hitter, and they have 2 losses on the season to the number 2 team in the nation. So we'll see how that game goes.
Yep. So here's a fun one. Number 8 Ohio State is favored against the Oregon Ducks, the supposed best team in the nation. So what do you think about that?
I mean, I was honestly shocked. So I wasn't shocked about Penn State being favored, wasn't shocked about the Longhorns being favored, but seeing the Buckeyes favored here by 2 points, I mean, it kind of amazed me, to be honest, because one of Ohio State's losses earlier in the season was to Oregon. But going back to the home field advantage, it was in Oregon, it was at their stadium, and they only lost by 1. So it was 32-31. I don't know what they're seeing here, but they're seeing something. Oregon's undefeated, number 1 team in the nation. Quarterback.
Do they have any injuries or anything?
Not that I know of. I mean, Dylan Gabriel's healthy that I know of, and I mean, I guess they're just kind of riding off of Ohio State beating the tar out of Tennessee. So that's the only thing that I can be seeing is just seeing that Ohio State's dominant performance.
And you just mentioned that's another factor with these buys is that you have they are riding off home field advantage, big win at home. They have so much momentum coming into these second round games.
Yes.
That these top 4 teams that had buys they just don't get.
Yeah, like Oregon, they haven't played in 2-3 weeks. So while your team's getting healthy and you're getting well rested, you're also not really playing any football. So you may be doing practices and scrimmages, but at the same time, you're not getting.
You got to create your own momentum.
Exactly.
You have to find ways to create your own momentum.
Like you have to keep that momentum up. Like you won your bowl game against. I mean, you won your championship game. I keep on calling them bowl games, but you won against Penn State in the Big Ten championship game, and closer than everybody thought. So I'm honestly excited. This is other than the Georgia game. As a Georgia fan, this is the game I'm most excited for to see, which it's right before the Georgia game.
Yeah.
So.
Well, speaking of,
exactly.
We'll go to our last game of next weekend, which is the Georgia Bulldogs. The only top 4 seed that is favored against their matchup, which is the Notre Dame Fighting Irish in the Sugar Bowl. So what do you think about this?
It scares me because I don't know. The last time we played Notre Dame, I believe, was in 2019. I can't remember if it was home or away. We had a home or away series, and I remember we beat them. And I'm just kind of riding off that, and I'm just hoping Gunnar Stockton can come up clutch. We saw him.
I'm excited, and it seems like his teammates are excited. It seems like his teammates believe in him. You know, I think I saw Jalen Walker say when he saw him come in that SEC championship game, he just thought, you know, he's got this. Like, they trust in him as a backup quarterback. That's awesome that you see your teammates already trusting in you going into a big game like this. So I'm excited to see what he can do.
Because in practice, I mean, he's been getting reps as the backup quarterback, but you also got to think about it. He's been getting reps against some of the best defenses we've seen in college football. This is his 3rd year, I believe. So he was practicing against Jordan Davis, against Jalen Carter, against Mykel Williams, against the DBs like Keely Ringo, against Malachi Stark. So you're seeing all these big talent players that he's practicing against.
Yep.
So not discrediting Notre Dame's defense at all. Not saying that they're that not good enough. But what I am saying is, me personally, this is going to be a big take, but I think Notre Dame is the most overrated team left. Like, I think I've never been a huge fan of Notre Dame just solely on the thing of you're not in a conference, dude. Like, you don't. Who do you play? You lost to Northern Illinois, who won 4 or 5 games this year. And I understand that was earlier in the season, but this is crazy. You're telling me that a team who lost to Northern Illinois is put ahead of Alabama, who has 3 losses, and I get that, but they were SEC losses, and they had a bad loss as well to Oklahoma. But against South Carolina, who was a couple penalties not being called and a couple plays and their quarterback getting hurt of being in this thing. So it just aggravates me so much that Notre Dame keeps on getting all this hype. And if they beat Georgia this week, I'm fine catching all the flack that I may get for this. But I hope that Georgia comes in, and I'm almost disrespected that we're only 2-point favorites. Because you see, what is this? So Texas is 14-point favorites.
Yep.
Penn State's 10.5 points favorites. Ohio State's is a 2-point favorite against the number 1 team in the nation, and against a team who lost to Northern Illinois. We don't even get 2 points, not even a field goal, a safety. Like, that drives me crazy. I hope Gunnar Stockton has a legacy game. I hope we rush for over 200 yards against them.
I almost feel like there's been this like negative bias towards the SEC this year.
Exactly.
Since they've had kind of a down year, and I just feel like since they've had such prior success that people seek to talk down on the SEC, and we can see that here of only being 2-point favorites against, like you said, a team that's lost to some nobodies this year.
Exactly. And I understand that I believe they beat Texas A&M at the beginning of the season. But once again, that was the beginning of the season. All I hear is, well, Notre Dame lost to this team, but it was the beginning of the season, so it doesn't matter. So their win against an SEC opponent doesn't matter either in my eyes, if you're going to credit that. So I know I went on that tangent, and it aggravates me. And one thing that I also am hopeful for is I think Georgia fans will travel really well as they're going to NOLA, New Orleans, Louisiana. I believe we're going to pack it out. I believe that we're going to dominate the atmosphere, and I feel like this is going to be a home game for Georgia. I surely believe it is. So
yeah, I feel like I'm excited to see what can go on in this second round of this playoffs and this setup that they have going on. I think it needs some work. I think the committee has some stuff that they need to talk over about what teams get in, what teams get out, what teams get put out. There's some stuff to be worked on, but I think it has potential to be some great.
I 100% do think so. I definitely think my biggest take from this is we got to put home field advantage into the quarterfinals, and we also have to take out the automatic bid for conference champions. I feel like if you are a top 4 team, you should be given that, because Texas, they got home field advantage, and I get that, but they're 100% a top 4 team this year. Their only losses are to Georgia, and they're every single game that they played against Georgia was close. It wasn't like we ever ran away with a 20-point lead. It wasn't like it was ever super, super big. And from a Georgia fan, I don't like that. I wish we would have steamrolled them, but Texas doesn't get as much credit as they probably deserve. But they also didn't play anybody other than Georgia this season. So it's hit or miss with their schedule.
I think it's just we're going to have to go through it. And, we could be wrong. The teams like Arizona State and Boise State, they could go on. If one of them won the national championship, then we just need to shut up. And this is the right way. But it just doesn't make much sense to put – because truly, when you think about it, Nick Saban was right when he said, no, the conferences are just not built the same. They're just not. And this, I believe this is something we're going to see this weekend.
Exactly.
I just don't think the conferences are just not built the same. It's simple as that. And I don't think that is something that should have so much weight in something like the college football playoffs. I don't think you should just get a bye just because you won your conference. You got to show more than that. You got to show you've played a hard schedule, and you've dominated a hard schedule to be considered the top 4 teams in the nation.
Exactly.
In a playoff like this. I just think you got to show more than just winning your conference. It's simple as that.
Exactly. And the last thing I'll say about college football is it would not shock me one bit if you see 2 Big Ten teams after this week and 2 SEC teams as the 2 dominant conferences like you were talking about. So that's.
But that's just what's going to happen.
Exactly.
They're going to have to show out, and they're going to have to show that conferences are not built the same. And if it plays out like that, then it plays out like that, and I believe changes will be coming.
Exactly.
So we'll see what happens this weekend.
Yeah.
All right, boys. As we move along here, just bear with us. We're just two dudes in a garage, and it's 2 days before Christmas, and it's 30 degrees in this place right now.
Dude,
what did you say it felt like?
It felt like 27 degrees.
All right, so if you see us shivering, just bear with us.
Bear with us,
We're
please.
gonna move along here to.
I'm gonna move back.
I'll sit back with you. So we're gonna move along here to the National Basketball Association, and man, if you think the NCAA is going through it with these changes to the playoff, man, the NBA. I'm trying to look for the right word for it, but I think it's disgruntled. The NBA is in a disgruntled time right now. They're all over the place. I think this feels like the sixth change they've made since like 2018. But so earlier last week, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver announced a revamped format to the AllStar Game for 2025. And it's interesting. So let me try and get this right. The format is there will be 4 teams of 8 players, and each game will be the first team to 40 points wins. So it'll be I think it's let me look it up. Let me look this up. So let me start explaining this again.
All right.
Dude, bear with us. This is crazy. It's crazy all over the place, and they didn't really announce it in the best way. So we believe that it is 5. There will be 5 players on the court, regular 5v5. So 4 teams, 8 players. First team to 40 points wins. 24 All-Star selections will be drafted by the TNT crew. So Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, and Kenny Smith will be the GMs, I guess. The owners that are drafting the players.
It's kind of how we saw the last couple of years.
So, like, the last couple of years when they switched to this draft, this draft, All-Star Draft concept, it would be the 2 top players, the two highest voted players from the East and the West. So it's been like LeBron and Giannis, or I think maybe Jokic. Maybe
I believe
did it one year, but
maybe.
So they're keeping this, but they're just using the TNT crew. I'm mad about it, but that's a weird thing to do. But I'm mad about it, but because I love the TNT crew.
That'll make for some good clips and arguments.
Yeah. So Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, and Kenny Smith. That's only 3 teams that they'll be drafting. So the final team.
Okay.
Is the winner of the Rising Stars game. So the Rising Stars game, if you don't know, is freshman and sophomore NBA players. The best freshman and sophomore players play a day before the actual All-Star game. It's just part of the events, but it's called the Rising Stars game. So the winner of that game will be the 4th team placed into this tournament.
So rookies and sophomores in the NBA, like the Wembys and the Chet Holmgrens, or is it like?
Yeah. NBA. So
yeah.
It's
so
the freshman and sophomore NBA players, best of the best of the first 2-year players.
So basically, players within their first 2 years will compete, and the winner of the best first 2-year team plays in the All-Star game.
Yeah.
So I could be like a new rookie to the league. My team wins. I kind of get carried, and now I'm an All-Star player. I'm in the All-Star game. Wow. Okay.
Wait, say that again.
So I'm a rookie, all right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm on a team, and my team wins the Rising Stars game. I'm on the team that wins the Rising Stars game,
Mm-hmm.
all right? So am I considered an all-star at that point?
See?
Because I'm an all-star in my rookie year.
What I assume it will be, since this says 24 all-star selections will be drafted. So the 24 all-stars that are being selected by the TNT crew, those are all-stars. But then they're just they're giving the right. You will still be a rising star. You don't get an all-star
So it's almost like
for that. But I guess they think it'll be interesting to see these younger people
get absolutely obliterated.
I think they want upsets.
Yeah.
They're trying, because that's what this whole thing is about, is sparking interest. Viewership's down. Adam Silver's talked about this for the many years in the past, since 2018, the 2020 bubble. It's kind of been on a downward trend for a while now, but he's trying to spark this interest. But see, the problem with this is, and I'm going off on a tangent here, but the problem with this is that NBA fans because I'm a big NBA fan. You're kind of an outsider when it comes to NBA, but I am an NBA fan. All we want to see is what we've always seen. We want this continuity. We want to see what the legends did. We want to see, like we talked about this earlier, we want to see how Michael Jordan played Kobe in the All-Star game. We want to see how all these players, we want to see LeBron play Kobe. We want to see this. We want to see East versus West. We want East teams to wear their own uniforms. We want how it's always been. So I feel like the NBA trying to garner so much more interest with this new stuff, it's not bringing new viewers in. All it's doing is pushing its loyal viewers out, because we don't want to see this. We just want to see how the All-Star Game's always been. We want it to be this competition between what's better, East or West. Who has the better players, the East or the Western Conference?
So does in the MLB with the American League, National League, where you see each year where I'd be mad if we went to like the American League MVP last season and the National League MVP last season, drafted a team of all these MLB players, you got together and then you played. I'd be mad. Like as a loyal MLB fan, I'd be mad about that. So
so it's this thing where it's just like you're not growing the game. You're just pushing loyal viewers away from it because you're dumping too much in. You're trying too much in things that we want to see. A thing like the All-Star Game is so important in a league like the NBA towards accolades. All-Star selections are a big accolade in the NBA. It's what we discuss in, how great players are, where they rank all the time. It's a big thing. So a thing like this taints the history of the game almost. Like, this almost feels less like an All-Star Game than anyone in the past, because it's like there's so much less stakes because it's a tournament style. Like, it feels so like unprofessional almost. Like,
has there always been 24 selected players? Do you know? Has there always been 12 and 12?
I believe so. It's always been so at least that fact, because it's always been 12 and 12.
Okay.
I believe. We can check that. But
because I was about to say, if you have more chances to get into an All-Star game, like you were talking about, you're almost tainting how many All-Star selections that somebody has.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot
nowadays.
of leagues. I feel like this isn't only an NBA problem. A lot of leagues now are changing so much that you're I don't, for lack of better words, the same one we've been using, tainting like all this history, because like the MLB with the shot clock, the pitching shot clock, it's changed so much of how pitchers pitch now. Exactly. That pitchers that were elite before, we see absolutely falling off, and pitchers that had no name before, they've risen to the top because they're just better. It's a whole different aspect. It's how well you can manage this shot clock now. It's not what arsenal do you have, this and that, how it's always been. Pitching has completely changed, so how do you have that conversation about the greatest pitchers of all time? Because it's a completely different game now. So it's like
because you have
all these changes just taint the history of sports.
You have pitchers like Greg Maddux who are known like, man, dude could pitch a baseball game in like under 2 hours because he was that dominant. Well, now, I mean, you see, not discrediting Max Fried, but I mean, he's pitched games almost similar to that, and it's mainly due to the pitch clock. So you're almost kind of maybe not damaging certain pitchers, but you're almost discrediting them for what they were able to achieve. So not saying that you get put in the Hall of Fame because you can pitch in under 2 hours. Yeah. But what I am saying is you're almost forcing these players to pitch like Greg Maddux, which could be a great thing or which could be a bad thing, depending on what side of the old heads of baseball you are, or maybe the newer side of it.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting, but let's try and get back on track here. So another point I have about this is now you got to think about this. NBA, the All-Star Game MVP, how does this work now? True. Is it going to be the best team, the best player on the winning team? Or is it going to be, because the All-Star Game MVP has always been more of who puts on the best show. Most of the time, yes, it is the best player on the best team, but it's about who's put on the best show, and that's the thing that really, it's been hanging on for a while now, the competitiveness of the All-Star Game, but that was what brought the competitiveness to this game, and it was what created this spectacle of the All-Star Game, is the players were playing for this really, coveted award that the All-Star MVP was a really big award. Yeah. Again, goes in your trophy case, is an accolade, goes towards how great you are in the grand scheme of NBA history. Yeah. So now what happens? How are they going to do this? They haven't explained this yet. how is that going to work? And now it feels like this again, since this tournament style, it kind of waters down these accolades. It waters down this award of getting the All-Star Game MVP. Is it even the All-Star? It's not the All-Star Game MVP now. That's what I'm saying. Like, what's the All-Star Game now?
It's the All-Star Tournament MVP almost, like it is.
So, I don't know. It just feels so watered down now. And, like, many NBA players, like we have Kevin Durant here, who just they've spoken strongly against it. A lot of NBA players have already spoken a lot against all these changes in the NBA so far. So it's like the fact that they just keep going and just keep I think that was a really good term. They just keep watering down these leagues.
Yeah.
There's too much change too quickly in all of sports these recent years. It's just,
I understand you want to grow leagues, but at the same time, it's almost the fans want their tradition to stay the same because, like, whenever I'm watching a college football game, I remember sitting on the sofa with my dad on Saturday watching a Georgia football game, and now it's like I'm watching this giant event with and I love College Game Day because I used to watch College Game Day back then, but even College Game Day's at its whole new level now with football. And you see all these advertisements, and you see these players getting paid millions upon millions, and all these other external factors to where it's almost like overwhelming the tradition and the kind of nostalgia I get from watching college football.
Yeah. So I think this is just one example of kind of where the NBA is at right now. But I'm still excited for the rest of this season. You know, we're not even halfway there yet. The All-Star Game isn't until February, I believe. So we still got a long way to go. A lot can happen. I'm excited to keep following along in this show we have. I'm excited to see. I can't wait till playoffs, but the NBA has a lot of work to do to get back to what it once was. I just wish that, like I said, I wish it wouldn't be so watered down with all these changes, but all you can do is hope that it gets back to what it once was. So.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the NFL now. We've seen a lot of rookies that have proven to have, great upside in the NFL, and they have a lot of promise, so we're just going to highlight a few. Bo Nix. I think these two rookies we're going to talk about first, it's been cool to see because they've really flipped. They've done what rookies high draft picks are supposed to do, and they've really turned their programs around. So Bo Nix has led the Broncos to a 9-6 record this season after at the same point last year their team was 7-8. So like I said, really turn their seasons around.
And it wasn't like they were led by a nobody. They were led by Russell Wilson. So I don't know. There was always some kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Russell Wilson and Sean Payton really didn't have a great connection. Russell Wilson was not really Sean Payton's quarterback, but we finally seen that Sean Payton was able to go out and get a quarterback that he felt good in his system, and he's changed the way that the Broncos are playing right now because they have the 7th seed in the AFC playoff, which is the 3rd wild card seed, last seed. And if they win out, they clinch that seed. And I don't remember the last time that the Broncos have had a playoff seed since probably Peyton Manning. Maybe.
I think one thing that drafting rookie quarterbacks really does well and letting them have this, putting them in these roles in their first year, is it takes pressure off the team. It don't what I'm saying? It takes pressure off. We have a rookie quarterback in there that we can trust, but we're coming off this disappointing season last year, so we can let this guy work, see what he can do, and if we do great, that's awesome. But it's still a learning year for this quarterback that we've put this trust into in this role. So I feel like these rookie quarterbacks do a really good job of just relieving pressure off, a team like the Broncos that have had a couple struggling years, and now they can think, this is a new start, this is a new guy, we trust in him, he's done great, and we can move on from here. And it really gives a lot of hope, and just like I said, eases the pressure off of these teams.
Yeah, exactly. And some of the stats that he's had this season so far is he's had a 64.3% completion rating. He's thrown for just a little under 3,300 yards and 22 touchdowns and 11 interceptions, which is pretty good. Could take care of the ball just a little bit more, but definitely good numbers for.
That's something you expect from rookies.
Exactly,
it's a learning curve.
That was the biggest thing.
It's a big thing. It's a big difference between college and professional games. So
and
you gotta expect the I guess, inefficiency, these turnovers. It's just something that comes with it.
And one thing that came with Bo Nix is Bo Nix had, I think, 6 years of college football experience. So he's played, and I mean, he was probably one of the most ready quarterbacks for the NFL, other than the one we're about to talk about right now.
Yeah, so Jaden Daniels, he's kind of went down the same path as Bo Nix. He's had a similar season. Well, I say a similar season as in the path he's kind of had and kind of how he's helped his team turn around. But he is light years ahead of any other rookie right now in the Rookie of the Year race. So this is a generational talent, I believe, that we're seeing. So
yeah, I mean, right now, betting-wise, he's currently a minus 10,000 favorite for the Offensive Rookie in the Year, which is absolutely insane.
Yeah, that's insane.
And for those who don't know how betting works, if you have a minus odds, it means for whatever the number is, you have to bet that much to make back $100.
Minus 10,000?
So you have to put with a minus.
At what point are you just a lock?
Right here.
Yeah, I mean,
last
this
week.
Is pretty much.
Last week he had a minus 750. Then the Commanders proceeded to have 5 turnovers in a win against one of the best teams in the NFC right now. They beat the Eagles with 5 turnovers, with Jaden Daniels having a amazing last drive.
This isn't just a great rookie season. He's up there with some of the best quarterbacks in the league right now.
Yeah, like if it was, I mean, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson are definitely competing for the MVP right now. But I remember earlier.
Would you say he's top 5?
I would probably say I'd put him on my team as a Falcons fans. Michael Penix, great upside. Shoot, put him on the Falcons. I don't think there's a single team other than probably like the Patrick Mahomes, the C.J. Stroud, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Like there's probably maybe not top 5, but definitely top 10. I would 100% say. So it's just amazing the year that he's having, and just the transition that he's helped with this team. So I'll let you talk a little bit more about the comparison last season to this season. But
like I said, just like with Bo Nix, the Commanders last season were 4-11 at this time, not anywhere near the playoffs, not even sniffing it. Literally just eliminated. Now they're in the same spot, but just in the NFC, the 7th seed, they're in there, so they got a chance of doing something special if it all goes right. So,
I mean, it's just crazy that they went from the second worst team in the NFL. They used that second overall pick to get Jaden Daniels, and they got a bunch of other people in the draft, but just the Jaden Daniels pick, bringing in Dan Quinn as your new offensive head coach. I mean, your head coach. But that's the crazy thing is you have a rookie quarterback, and you have Dan Quinn, who this is his first year running the team. So this is almost like the Houston Texans 2.0 with C.J. Stroud and I can't think of the head coach's name over there. But
I couldn't help you.
DeMeco Ryan, that's his name. I knew it was there. But you're almost seeing the Houston Texans, except in the NFC. So I mean, I'm honestly rooting for them. I have a family up near the area, and they're huge Commanders fans. And if the Falcons, for some reason, can't make it into that playoffs, I'll definitely be rooting for the Commanders to go all the way. But the last guy, a couple stats for Jaden Daniels, by the way. He has a 70% completion rating. He has 3,300 yards on the season, 22 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. So kind of similar to Bo Nix, but the thing that kind of sets him apart is he also has ran for almost 750 yards and also ran for 6 touchdowns. So he's not just a pocket passer, but he can also run around, as we saw when he played at LSU. So
you brought up the Texans just a couple moments ago, and it kind of made me think about C.J. Stroud. We saw him have an absolute insane rookie year, one of the greatest rookie years of all time last year.
With a new head coach as well.
Yep. And so really similar to Jaden Daniels. A really good comparison between the two. But C.J. Stroud has struggled some this season. What do you think about Jaden Daniels' upside? Do you think he has a higher ceiling than C.J. Stroud? Or kind of how do you think about this comparison between the two? And how do you think Jaden Daniels can build off of this season going forward?
I feel like Jaden Daniels is definitely more elusive with his legs than C.J. Stroud is. C.J. Stroud definitely can run. I remember watching the Ohio State and Georgia semifinal game in 2022, I believe, and that's the biggest thing that shocked me is we knew he had an arm, but I'm pretty sure he ran all over Georgia that game. And I feel like the biggest thing that happens, you mentioned C.J. Stroud kind of struggling a little bit, is defenses prepare for you. It's almost like when a hot player in the MLB comes up and they kind of learn how to pitch to you. I feel like Jaden Daniels, with how great of this season's been, he's definitely going to have to make some tweaks here and there, definitely keep on growing. This definitely isn't his ceiling. I expect him to continue to soar, and I wouldn't be shocked if we see him in an MVP race in the next 3 years. I mean, it completely wouldn't shock me. I'm not predicting that because we never know what could happen with him, and we may see him take a step back in his sophomore slump year, just like we've seen with C.J. Stroud. So I would definitely wish the best for him. But
so just to have a little fun here, who do you think will be better in 5 years, C.J. Stroud or Jaden Daniels?
I think it will most likely be – it just depends because, I mean, you have the Texans who just loaded up on their offensive weapons with Joe Mixon, Stephon Diggs. They have Nico Collins and Tank Dell. But then you also have the Commanders who I feel like they need a couple more pieces to kind of help Jaden Daniels out because there's been – 2 or 3 games this season where it's literally came down to the last play or the last possession or so. So I feel like if the Commanders get a couple more of those pieces for Jaden Daniels, I mean, I could see Jaden Daniels being better just because a defense has to not only prepare for his passing, but also you have to keep somebody in the box like a quarterback spy just to make sure he doesn't take off for 50 yards. So, I mean, if I had to pick one of the two, as of right now, I'm probably picking C.J. Stroud just because of the offensive weapons around him. But if the Commanders do put weapons around Jaden Daniels, I may be picking Jaden Daniels. But in my personal opinion, Jaden Daniels is not the best. I could see somebody doing better than him in a couple years, and that's the next guy.
You don't think he's one of the young players with the highest potentials is what you're trying to say?
I feel like he may be the second because I think the guy we're about to talk about may have a higher potential, and there may be some slight bias there, but
not as much team success this year, but Brock Bowers has been on an absolute tear statistically.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so he currently ranks 8th in receiving yards in the entire NFL, right?
He leads. The only person who has more receiving yards than him is Brian Thompson Jr., I think, from the Jacksonville Jaguars. And it's not by a lot, but he leads second in rookies with receiving yards, 8th overall in the entire NFL.
Yeah, so top 10 in receiving yards and tied for second in catches. In the NFL, not rookies.
Not rookies. In the NFL with 101. I can't remember. I know he was competing with Amon-Ra St. Brown, C.D. Lamb, and there was one other that I couldn't remember with. But there was 3 people tied for second, and there was one person which he was 5 catches behind. So it's just amazing the year he's having, and he's also broken a couple records, and he's close to breaking a couple more. So he broke the rookie tight end reception record, which was previously 87 by Sam Laporta, and he's on pace to break Mike Ditka tight end rookie receiving yards, which is 1,076, and that record was set before both of our parents were born in 1961. So this thing has been around for, 64, 63 years?
Close enough.
So somewhere around there, which is absolutely wild. And he's 9 yards off of it in 2 games.
Yeah.
So it's ridiculous.
It's just insane it's just crazy to see such a high level of production from a rookie at this position. It's just insane.
And the crazier thing is the high level of production from this great blue chip player on a team who's 3-12 and is most likely going to have a top 5 pick again, which is honestly great for him because imagine the quarterback he's going to get next year. They have to be picking quarterback. So, I mean, that's not for me to decide. Who's going to be there, man? Come on now. Who's going to be there?
Who do you want to see there?
But who's going to be there? Because this is going way off topic, but Carson Beck could come back. Quinn Ewers could come back. Jalen Milroe could come back. So, Shedeur Sanders, he may get picked by the New York Giants, who may have the number 1 overall pick. So,
who would you want to see
with Brock Bowers?
Lined up with Brock Bowers.
Ooh, I mean, Carson Beck may be the obvious answer just because of the chemistry they have, but I don't know if Carson Beck's really going in the first round after the season he's had.
You know what they need to do?
What?
You know what I'm thinking.
What?
They need to sign a certain someone.
Is he the backup quarterback for the Rams?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Stetson Bennett, baby. They need to go out and get these.
Hey, completely unbiased.
Completely unbiased. Completely unbiased. Completely unbiased. But Stetson Bennett.
Wait, what happened?
No, I'm just completely unbiased. Completely unbiased.
Back there? I don't know.
Yeah, no. But I mean, Yeah,
dude.
I
I'm biased.
don't know a quarterback that I could really see in this upcoming draft. I mean, you could see Quinn Ewers, but I don't know if he's going to go that early. I feel like Shador Sanders. I mean, I don't know how well that him and Brock Bowers would mix. I haven't really watched Shador play a whole lot this year. I don't really know of a quarterback. I would really hope the Raiders would go and get somebody, but I'm not a Raiders fan, so I'm not going to speak on the Raiders. Yep. But I wish the best for Brock Bowers. And, I mean, I love seeing – it wouldn't shock me if we have a Bowers jersey up here in a couple of days.
Yeah, dude. Just the NFL should have known. Absolute dog. Saw it for how many years? 3 years at Georgia.
3 years. Started as a true freshman. Yeah. Won the rookie or freshman offensive player award. I believe he won the best tight end 2 or 3 years in college. I'm pretty sure he was first team SEC for all 3 years, I think.
Yeah, in my opinion, the tight end position is a position that there's a lot of components to it that players choose one thing and they're good at that one thing. They focus on that one thing. You're either a blocking tight end or you're a playmaking tight end. You're either blocking or receiving. Brock can do it all. He's an electric playmaker that is an absolute dog when it comes to blocking. He can do it all.
Exactly. And just some of the stats that he's had this year. So right now he's at 101 receptions, which is currently only 15 short of the receptions in a season by a tight end. So, which is set by Zach Ertz right now. So if he gets 15 more, he will be the tight end with the most receptions in any season in the NFL. He currently has 1,067 yards, which is crazy. As a tight end, he's doing this. He only has 4 touchdowns. As we said earlier, the Raiders don't get in the red zone much. But he's only had 3 drops all year. 3 drops in, 15 games now? So, I mean, he's just an absolute, and
he's doing all this without a quarterback.
Exactly. He's caught passes from Aiden O'Connell, from Gardner Minshew, and from Desmond Ridder. Yep. And they lost their best receiver this year in Devontae Adams, who was traded to the Jets. So that may have helped his targets, but that means the defense is going to be targeting you a whole lot more than Devontae Adams. So it's just amazing to see.
Brock Bowers, to me, is that unicorn build that everyone expected from Kyle Pitts.
Exactly. And I, as a Falcons fan, I knew we weren't going to do this, but part of me was like, let's just throw Kyle Pitts away. Let's trade him for whatever we can get because just this season, he's not reliable. I mean, he had over 1,000 yards
so you're at the end of the Kyle Pitts age.
I'm at the end of the Kyle Pitts age. I've been at the end of the Kyle Pitts age since his second season.
So you think is he a bust?
I think he's a bust. I officially think he's a bust. I mean, he's a great player. If he would have been drafted in the 2nd or 3rd round, that's great.
Just the highest drafted tight end ever. Exactly. He was supposed to be so great.
He was the 8th overall pick.
Like I said, he was supposed to be what Brock Bowers is now, this unicorn type of tight end that can do it all, and it just didn't. It didn't pan out.
And I remember watching him at Florida. I mean, he was great, don't get me wrong, but, I mean, he wasn't Brock Bowers. Yep. Like, I was so aggravated whenever Brock Bowers kept on falling back and back and back. And I'm like, some team's about to get the greatest prospect that's a non-quarterback. And am I wrong? No. The Raiders found an absolute gem, and he is being wasted. Right now, Brock Bowers is a Lamborghini parked inside of a
5-star gem on NCAA.
Yeah, exactly. He's a 5-star gem, but he's on, Nevada State, some random team. No offense to Nevada State, but I feel like he's being wasted. I just hope that the Raiders do not end up wasting this pure talent that they just got with Brock Bowers. So
I got faith. They'll figure it out.
I don't. It's the Raiders.
We'll see.
We'll see.
So we'll wrap this first episode of the talk show up with the MLB offseason, and the past couple weeks it is absolutely heated up, and it kicked off with Juan Soto leaving the Yankees and signing a 15-year deal, $785 million with the New York Mets.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. And that contract can honestly get up to $805 million. So just to explain the contract a little bit, there's a no-trade clause. There's a player opt-out after 5 years, meaning that after 5 years he can leave the Mets. But if the Mets were to bump his pay up from $51 million a year to $55 million a year for the next 15 years, it would void the opt-out clause, meaning that they could just pay him for $51 million years for the first 5 years, and they can bump it up.
51 million years?
No, $51 million per year. My bad. $51 million a year for the first 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Bump it up to $55 million for the next 10, and it would extend to $105 million for 15 years, meaning that this would be the largest amount of money given out in MLB history. It's not going to be the same annual value per year as the Shohei Ohtani contract, which is $70 million. But this is the most amount of money we've seen given out on one contract, which is absolutely insane.
Yep. Insane contract, and the Yankees did try and match, right?
Yeah, the Yankees tried to match, and he still left. And I guess he just wasn't – I guess he didn't want to be on the Yankees just because the amount of, news, publicity, pressure. That's my assumption.
Yep.
But also I heard there was something to do with Cashman not giving him a suite in – the New York Yankees Stadium. He said that he wanted Juan Soto to pay for one. That was one thing. But this is also Juan Soto's fourth team in 3 years or 4 years.
Well, whatever the case may be, the Yankees have absolutely ran away with this opportunity. It seemed like a terrible thing for them at first, but they have took it and ran with it. So
yeah, and sadly, they also ran away with the Braves pitcher Max Fried, which
and that was only the beginning, right?
That was just the beginning. I mean, they signed Max Fried to an 8-year, $218 million contract, which is $27.25 million a year, and I mean he was a great pitcher for the Braves, and I'm going to miss him so much. But at the same time, I mean, if you look at the Braves starting rotation right now, you have Chris Sale, who just won the Cy Young. You have Spencer Schwellenbach, who probably could have won Rookie of the Year if it wasn't for the Pirates. And Paul Skeens. And then you have Charlie Morton, who's kind of old. You have Spencer Strider, and then there is Ronaldo Lopez. So the Braves will be fine without Max Fried, but it's definitely sad to see him go. But back to the Yankees.
Yeah, like we said, this is only the beginning. And since then, they've picked up Cody Bellinger from the Cubs, and as well as just today, Paul Goldschmidt.
And with the Cody Bellinger trade, it was kind of a surprise to me. The trade itself, the trading for Cody Bellinger wasn't really the surprise, but the Yankees traded Cody Petit, who had 4 starts last season, only played 4 games last season. He went 3-0, and he had 16 strikeouts to 8 walks. So basically they traded someone who's barely played, and they got Cody Bellinger and money.
So they fleeced him.
They basically just I don't understand how this happened. This is 100% just the Cubs trying to get out of cap trouble. And then with the Paul Goldschmidt, I mean, this is crazy. And I got to pull this up real quick because
this lineup's insane.
This lineup and the rotation is insane. Let's see if I can find it real quick.
So what we were talking about earlier, there's 4 former MVPs on this lineup right now.
Giancarlo Stanton won MVP with the Marlins. Aaron Judge has won MVP with the Yankees. Cody Bellinger has won MVP with the Dodgers. And Paul Goldschmidt won MVP with the Diamondbacks. So they have 4 MVP players in their starting rotation. But let me read this out to you. So Anthony Volpe at shortstop, Jazz Chisholm at second base, Aaron Judge in the outfield, Paul Goldschmidt at first base, Cody Bellinger in the outfield, Giancarlo Stanton at DH, Austin Wells at catcher, Jason Dominguez in the outfield, and Oswaldo Cabrera at third base. That is absolutely insane. And it's not that they're going to have to rely on their hitting because they have Garrett Cole, Max Fried, Carlos Rondon, Lewis Gill, and Marcus Stroman as their 5 rotation. I mean, have we ever seen a team that good before?
So let me ask you this. Do you think this is a good or bad thing?
It's a bad thing. It's terrible because what you're going to see is, I do not like this whatsoever, and I just can't stand this because as a Braves fan, I'm sitting there, and I'm like, that's great. The Braves haven't signed anybody, okay? Braves have not signed a single person in free agency. We have not traded for a single person. We've traded and signed minor league contracts and 1-year deals for under $1 million, but we haven't went out and got anybody.
So the parity in the MLB is at an all-time low.
Yeah, literally, it's, oh, wow, Yankees signed someone for a lot of money. Oh, wow, Dodgers signed someone for a lot of money. Oh, wow, Mets signed someone for a lot of money. But every other team other than the Dodgers, Mets, and Yankees literally are just trying to grab for the scraps at this point because, I mean, those three teams can throw physically as much money as they want at whoever they want.
Yep.
So as an MLB fan, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, I'm never going to be able to watch baseball the same again, because you're seeing literally an all-star team form on different teams. While the Braves, I mean, they have a great lineup, do not get me wrong, and I have full faith that the Braves could still win a World Series because the Yankees and the Mets are great at spending money, but they're not great at winning championships past 2000. So, I mean,
what do you think has to change?
We have to. The NFL has a salary limit, and
every other sport does.
But the thing is, with the MLB, you can go over the salary cap, and all you have to do is spend more money. But whenever you have the owner for the Mets, Cohen, who's really valued at $20 billion, like, you think finding him $100 million is going to do anything to him? No, it's not. It's literally you went over the limit. No, but, like, I'm pretty sure if you go over in other leagues, you're fined for a heck ton more money than that, or you lose draft picks, or you lose stuff in the future. Like, you get punished. You don't just get a little, I'm sorry that you went over. But I'm pretty sure I saw this thing today, and I could be completely wrong, but there's 9 MLB teams going over the cap limit. And I'm pretty sure it was something, I can't remember how many, but there was many teams who were paying over $100 million in just luxury tax. So it's absolutely insane to me. I hope the MLB can somewhat put a cap on it, but I'm pretty sure the last time they tried to make a salary cap, the players just striked. So I'd rather just have baseball than them go on strike. So it's a sad day as a Braves fan. Because
a lot of weird stuff happening in multiple sports leagues.
Exactly. Right now, so sports are going crazy, but, I mean, I guess
I'm interested to see how the rest of this offseason goes for the MLB. This is the most exciting one I've tuned into for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we've seen any more flip-flop than we've seen in this one free agency market. But I'm definitely looking forward to it, and I'm excited to see how all these seasons play out, how all these players we have mentioned continue their seasons and go in the future. And I'm excited to keep on documenting this on the podcast or the talk show that we're having.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And boys, if you stayed and stuck it out with us through this entire first episode, we thank you.
Thank you so much.
And we definitely got a lot to learn. We're getting through this. We're grinding through it. It's a steep learning curve, but we're invested, and I look forward to just keep growing and growing and growing.
Exactly. And just remember to follow us on all of our socials. Keep up with us as much as you can, and just stay with us for our journey as we continue to just get better and climb that curve that Gavin was talking about.
It only goes up from here, boys.
Yes, sir.
Thank all y'all.
Thank y'all so much.
Till next time, fellas.
See y'all.